For this tutorial, we're going to go over the Video Manager feature in the Sonra software. To open the Video Manager, select our session, and on the left-hand toolbar, select the Video Manager icon. On the Video Manager page, tags will be displayed on the top timeline once imported or generated, and GPS activity will be displayed beneath in an activity graph. Beneath that, mapping is available in a 2D replay, and we also have a drill table which will allow us to advance to the sequence of a drill within the video. Firstly, we'll attach a video by selecting the Attach Video icon. From here, if we select Browse, we can use File Explorer or Finder to locate the video file that we'd like to use. Once we've selected it, we'll just then click Attach. You will then have in your attached videos list the file name that you attached and then a sync time. This sync time can be edited if you know the start time of the video, but if not, we can use our sync bar to synchronize the video. To do this, open the video. Video can be resized freely, and we can begin playback. We can then see that our playback is out of sync initially. Using the activity graph, we'll be able to synchronize using the start of the game. So in this sequence, we're looking at the centre forward in the black jersey who's ready to press, and we can see on the activity graph below the point at which to begin to press, change direction and sprint again. By turning on our sync bar in the top right, which will then be highlighted in red, we can line up on the activity graph to the point that matches the paused video. And by clicking this point and turning off our sync video time, we can then see that video and GPS are now in line, and we're ready to continue with our analysis and integrate with our tags. Once our video is in sync, we can now begin the process of importing tags. To do this, navigate to the Import Tag icon on the top right, select, and then browse Finder or File Explorer to select the XML export from a video tagging system which you would like to import into Sonra. From here, select Import, and we'll be greeted with a dialog which will give us an indication of each tag and allow us to assign a player or multiple players per tag. To assign multiple players, simply select Ctrl-A, and we can also filter off any players which then don't apply to a specific tag. Each tag will also have the option of a lead or lag time. This will give us the ability to advance the tag by a specific duration in seconds to lengthen the tag out if it applies so on our analysis. Once we're happy with the format of our XML, we can then select Save, and these tags will then populate our timeline in synchronization with our GPS data. So once our tags have been imported, we can now use the tag timeline or the physical GPS timeline to advance video playback. This will allow us to recall events from either a tactical or physical perspective. The playback bar will be in sync between the tag timeline and the GPS timeline and will always represent the same time period. We can use this to then highlight in on a specific tag or GPS event. Highlighted tags will turn grey and will indicate their status. And from there, we have the ability to create a drill of that period or to delete the tag and edit. Resetting the zoom on either timeline will refresh both to view the full period, and zooming in will then update again on both timelines, so they will always be in sync. On the activity graph, we have the ability to turn on GPS events such as sprints, which will then give us the ability to recall these in video and gain an insight into the tactical reasoning behind why a particular sprint occurred, and also assess if a tag overlapped with this. Using either timeline, I can now create drills to get further information on any activity. So firstly, to do this using the tag timeline, we can simply select one tag, which will highlight in grey, and run a create drill. This will run to our metric calculation, and then we're free to continue editing while that drill is being prepared. Drills that are prepared will populate in the drill table, and selecting a single drill will recall that instance in the video. On the tag timeline, I can also select an entire tag row to cut drills over a larger period. This will allow me to cut multiple sequences of the same event, so it may be an instance of all counterattacks performed by my team, Simply click the name of the tag, which will highlight all tags in a row, and hit Create Drills. This will create multiple drills for each counterattack and give me the ability to report the physical outcomes of each counterattack. Once this calculation is complete, you can see the counterattacks are now available in my drill table. Next, on the activity graph, I can now view an event of particular interest. So in this example, we'll look at the channel run we've earlier viewed as our max sprint throughout the session. We can zoom in on the start and end of the sprint. And once we're happy that we've captured the activity, hit the Create Drill button to send it to drills. We'll have the option to give it a name. In this instance, we'll call it Channel Run, and also the players we'd like to apply it to. This drill applies to a single player, so we'll run it just for one player. And then it will populate into our drill table. By selecting our channel run in the drill table, we'll now see that our video recall will move to the channel run, and we'll also have a 2D representation of the player's movements during that run. So in addition to viewing a single player 2D map, we can navigate to our player selection and select all. This will then drop the activity graph out of view, so we'll now view a timeline and then jump straight down to our 2D mapping for a full squad. So once we've selected all players, GPS positioning for each player will begin to load in, and we'll have our tag timeline available again. Here we'll open the video and move it into position. Once we've loaded data for our selected players, we can now see the 2D positioning of our entire squad in synchronization with the video. So from this point, we'll advance from kickoff, and we can see the 2D positioning of the team in the black kit. Here we can see the forward press from the striker, and the colour wheel around each player will indicate the speed that they're moving at in correlation to each speed zone, with red being the most excessive speed and blue being the lowest. We can also then use this to filter to specific drills using the drill table. So by selecting the channel run, we can see the channel run that our striker performed earlier in the game, but also view the positioning of his teammates during this activity. This is particularly useful for events such as counterattacks or team shape. From here, we can navigate to the tagging panel, which will give us the ability to use our own user-created tags and edit the timeline. The timeline that's pre-existing will populate on the bottom, but we can then navigate to configure tags to add our own custom tags. By selecting a tag, we'll open an edit window on the right-hand side, which will give us the ability to rename a tag or assign players to that individual event. Beneath this, we have the option to assign a lead or lag time to the tag. This will determine the length of the tag. If a lead time and a lag time is set to 0, this will mean that the button will operate on a double click basis. One click to start the event and one click to end the event. Whereas if we have a lead or a lag time assigned to a button, the button will operate on a single click. Beneath this, we then have the ability to set up the background we'd like to use for our tag in terms of color, and also the text and border colors we'd like to use using a color wheel. We can also set the transparency that we'd like to use. Once we're happy with our tag settings, click Save, and this will update our tagging panel. Now we're ready to begin tagging. Now that we're ready to tag, we can begin video playback and start creating tags for the game. In this instance, we'll increase playback speed and begin tagging possession for our team. As we lose possession, we can toggle off the possession button, and that will then create an instance on the timeline for team possession. Team possession is then highlighted in green in accordance with the tag that we've set up. We can then tag events such as break and play, and then move to a full screen. In full screen mode, the timeline is not visible, but any tags generated within here will be sent to the timeline and will be viewable when we exit full screen mode. Here we can then begin to tag events as they occur. So in this instance, we're about to view an attacking set play. So we'll click the attacking set play button, which will send to our timeline. And as the event unfolds, we can then navigate out to our timeline and view the attacking set play. We can then highlight it to create a drill if necessary, or just use it for video recall.